A woman was told she had 3 months to live. She was 84 years old. Her breast cancer had metastasized to her sternum and to her liver. Her oncologist told her she was too old for radiation. Then, in the same breath, the doctor said something unusual. The doctor said, "There is a clinical trial. It involves something that grows on dead logs in the forest. You might want to try it." That woman survived, but not for the reasons Western medicine gave her. She survived for the reasons the pharmaceutical industry refused to give her. We did not stop using this remedy because it failed. We stopped because it cannot be patented. And what cannot be patented cannot generate a monopoly. This is the story of the mushroom that Japan has prescribed to cancer patients for nearly half a century, that the FDA quietly approved for clinical trials, and that is growing right now on a dead log within walking distance of your house, or that you can grow at home for the cost of a bag of hardwood sawdust. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. The archive opens in China, 1368 AD. An emperor's physician during the Ming dynasty is compiling the most comprehensive medical text in Chinese history. Among the remedies recorded is a fan-shaped mushroom that grows on dead wood. It is banded in rings of brown, white, and cream, its underside covered in tiny pores like a breath of mist frozen in place. They called it yunzi, the cloud mushroom. It had been used for over 2,000 years to clear lung disease and restore vitality in the chronically ill. The earliest written documentation of its use predates the Ming text by centuries, but the knowledge itself was older than any text. In Japan, they called it kawaratake, the mushroom by the riverbank, and it moved through folk medicine the way water moves through soil, quietly, completely, leaving evidence of its passage in every healed body. Native American tribes from the Lakota to the Cherokee steeped it for fevers and respiratory ailments. Every culture that walked in hardwood forests knew it. It was a foundational volume in the medical library of the world. Today we call it turkey tail, Trametes versicolor. It is the most common medicinal mushroom in the Northern Hemisphere, growing on every continent except Antarctica. You have almost certainly walked past it without knowing what you were looking at. That is not an accident. In 1971, a group of chemists at Kureha Chemical Industries in Japan isolated a compound from turkey tail's mycelium. They called it PSK. It was a protein-bound polysaccharide, a complex molecule that interacted with the human immune system in a completely novel way. It did not attack cancer cells directly. Instead, it trained the host's immune system to do what it had forgotten how to do. By 1977, Japan had approved PSK as an official cancer therapy. By 1980, it was standard care. Oncologists across Japan were prescribing it alongside chemotherapy and radiation for gastric, colorectal, lung, and breast cancers. Not as an alternative, as a partner. By 1987, PSK was generating $357 million in annual sales in Japan alone, prescribed to post-surgical patients the way a Western oncologist prescribes a follow-up blood panel routinely, without controversy, as part of the expected course of care. The clinical evidence behind that routine was formidable. A meta-analysis of 8,009 patients across 8 randomized controlled trials found that PSK, the protein-bound polysaccharide, reduced the hazard of death from gastric cancer significantly, with a hazard ratio of 0.88. For colorectal cancer, the numbers were stronger still. The overall survival risk ratio across 1,094 patients in 3 centrally randomized trials came in at 0.71, meaning patients who received PSK alongside chemotherapy were 29% less likely to die than those who received chemotherapy alone. The disease-free survival ratio was nearly identical. Across gastric, colorectal, lung, and breast cancers, PSK was found to improve survival rates by 10 to 20%. It also reduced the side effects of chemotherapy, improved quality of life, and showed 0 serious adverse reactions across 50 years of clinical use. This research is not obscure. It is published in peer-reviewed journals including Surgery Today, Cancer Immunology and Immunotherapy, and Frontiers in Pharmacology, and it is publicly available on PubMed. The evidence did not require interpretation, it required infrastructure to act on it. In the United States, that infrastructure was never built. Here is the exact mechanism of that failure. The United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, requires that any approved drug identify what it calls an active pharmaceutical ingredient, a single isolatable molecule that can be perfectly replicated from batch to batch. PSK has no single molecule. It is a complex natural web of beta-glucans and bound proteins, heterogeneous by its biological nature. Without that single molecule, the FDA cannot classify it as a drug. It can be sold as a supplement, but it cannot be prescribed. It cannot be reimbursed by insurance. It cannot be written into a treatment protocol. And there is a second wall behind the first. Because of its 2,000 years of documented traditional use, any pharmaceutical derivative is legally unpatentable. Bastyr University, which ran the most important American turkey tail trials, stated this publicly. They said traditional use means derivatives are probably not patentable, and that has dissuaded pharmaceutical companies from funding clinical trials. No company will spend $800 million on Phase 3 trial infrastructure for a compound that cannot generate monopoly revenue. The gate keeping this medicine out of American hospitals was never built from ignorance. The gate was profit. Two walls of it, one regulatory, one financial, both serving the same interest. Now come back to that doctor's office in 2009. Back to the 84-year-old woman told she had 3 months to live. Her name was Beverly Stamets. She had the second worst case of stage 4 breast cancer her oncologist had seen in 20 years of practice. A 5.5 centimeter tumor metastasized to her sternum and her liver. The family gathered. Beverly bought a cheap pine casket because she said she was going to heaven. Then her oncologist mentioned the clinical trial at Bastyr University. As it happened, Beverly's son was the mycologist supplying the turkey tail for that exact trial. His name was Paul Stamets. Beverly enrolled. She took turkey tail mushroom extract daily alongside her conventional treatment. The Phase 1 dose escalation trial, later published in the journal ISRN Oncology, found that 6 grams per day was associated with a significant recovery of lymphocytes and increased natural killer cell activity. Her immune system was waking back up after the devastation of chemotherapy, mounting exactly the kind of targeted response that cancer cells exploit suppression to avoid. The National Institutes of Health followed with a $5.4 million grant for subsequent research. Bastyr researchers later presented their findings to more than 100 clinical oncologists in Tokyo. Beverly Stamets went into remission. She remained cancer-free. This is not a story about a magic cure. Beverly also received chemotherapy. The compound was studied as an adjunct, exactly as PSK had been prescribed in Japan for 3 decades. But the question the research answered was profound. Does turkey tail help the immune system recover its capacity to fight during and after conventional treatment? Across thousands of patients in multiple countries, spanning half a century of published data, the answer is yes. The mechanism is specific. The beta-glucans in turkey tail bind to complement receptor CR3, the same cellular receptor that cancer cells exploit to evade immune detection. PSK activates macrophages, dendritic cells, natural killer cells, and T cells. It corrects the immune suppression caused by surgery and chemotherapy. It promotes the production of interleukin-2 and interferon gamma, signaling molecules that mobilize the body's own defenses. The mushroom does not replace treatment. It restores the body's ability to participate in it. And it is also, right now, available in every temperate forest on Earth at no cost. Turkey tail does not grow in the dirt. It grows above ground on dead hardwood, which means it is clean. When you flip a fresh turkey tail, you will see a white to cream-colored surface, dense with microscopic pores. The top surface is banded in concentric rings of brown, tan, and gray, occasionally showing hints of blue or purple, always with a lighter growing margin at the edge. It is leathery, not brittle, fanning out in overlapping clusters that look precisely like the tail feathers of a wild turkey. The lookalike you must avoid is false turkey tail, Sterium ostrea. The tell is simple. False turkey tail has a completely smooth, rust-colored underside. No pores means it is not the medicine. When you find the real mushroom, harvest it, clean it with a dry brush, chop it, and dry it. Simmer 1 cup of dried pieces in 6 cups of water on low heat for 1 hour. Strain it, and you have turkey tail tea, the same preparation Chinese physicians brewed for 2,000 years before Kureha's chemists ever held it under a microscope. Drink it daily. Your gut microbiome will benefit as well. Turkey tail is among the most studied natural prebiotics in mycological research, selectively feeding bifidobacterium and lactobacillus species while suppressing pathogenic bacteria. The same compound that helps a cancer patient's immune system rebuild after chemotherapy also feeds the ecosystem in your gut that makes immunity possible in the first place. If you prefer consistent and verified dosing, pharmaceutical-grade hot water extract powder is available from reputable suppliers. Look for products made from the fruiting body, not the grain substrate the mycelium was grown on. Beta-glucan content standardized above 30% is the quality marker that matters. The medicine was too available, too ancient, and too complex to own, so a financial gate was built to keep it out of your doctor's office. The gate has a name. It is called the Drug Approval Pathway, and it was designed for single molecules, which means it was designed to exclude everything that nature actually produces. The cloud mushroom documented in the Ming dynasty, the compound that Japanese oncologists have prescribed since 1977. The 8,009 patients in randomized trials whose survival data has been sitting in peer-reviewed journals for decades. The 84-year-old woman who bought her casket and then didn't need it. All of it growing on dead logs within a walk from your door. The mushroom does not need permission. It grows in winter and summer, spring and fall. It waits on every downed tree in every hardwood forest on this continent. It has been waiting for 2,000 years, and it will wait as long as it takes. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to price out of reach. The next vault opens soon.